So, for today, I have suddenly become curious about the origin of Japanese horror as one does, and one goes into it just a bit more than usual. And I found this Onibaba one, and it seems interesting, possibly, but it's the original anyway. And so I'm going to watch it. It's one of apparently the earliest, although not as early as Godzilla, but that's more kaiju, I suppose. Kind of like how King Kong isn't quite horror, more adventure of some sort. But actually, I've never watched Godzilla, so I suppose that's something that's missing. But yeah, so we'll see what this thing is about. As it happens, I think I can understand what Onibaba means as two words, with Oni being the mythological ogre and Baba being an old woman, as far as I know. So one assumes that an old woman becomes an ogre and such, or vice versa. Ogres do have the capability to shapeshift, as far as I know. Just like I think all other mythological creatures, actually. Um, Kitsune do as well. Tanuki do as well. Forgot if Tenga shapeshift. I remember them shapeshifting, but yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. Let's see what this is about then. It has a strange OST. At least the first music that pops up after the 6th minute or such. Uh, yeah, very strange. It has this repeated sort of human voice, and at first I thought it had something to do with isn't someone, some character was doing it within the context of the movie, but then clearly it came from the music. It's just a bit confusing. I'm wondering whether they wanted to do that, they wanted to confuse people, because that's the effect, at least, that I perceived. By the way, that kind of films do not have even a single word on beyond the 10th minute. Well, usually they have much before that. Yeah, it's kind of slow in this sense, but I don't know. We'll see if they did that for some specific reason. So this guy says that the emperor escaped to Mount Yoshino, but I've read about it here, and unless it's just some information that has been not included, no emperors are mentioned. Strange, so I'm not sure if it's just fictional or what. Well, didn't realize this film would end up to be a history lesson. So apparently the escapee is referencing the Genko War, which was another civil war. Uh, and yeah, that ended Kamakura and fought. No, Ashikaga came after. Yeah, and hmm. So there was something at Yoshino, it just wasn't mentioned apparently. I think. By the way, this guy is seriously animated. Uh, so he couldn't talk before eating, but then as soon as he ate just a bit, he's all expression. Um, what's the opposite of expressionless? Expressionful? Yeah, that's strange. There's no such word, is there? When he's seemingly playing in among the, I think the reeds, those long tree-like structures. Uh, yeah, I mean, who does this anyway? Alone as well after the war? I mean, is it some sort of soldier instinct to play and roll about in such places? I don't get it. Like, you know, maybe if they were a child, understandable, but suppose them being so huge, it's just sort of makes one feel like a child. But it's I don't know, just he is seemingly bored and just playing by himself. It makes little sense. And yeah, this though, this I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if it'll become any more of a stereotypically horror sort of movie, but so far it's uh, it's much more real life than horror. That makes sense. I mean, there's a war in the background, but it's not even there in the movie itself. So it's even less horrifying than that. And war exists for real. War, I suppose, would be the most real life equivalent to anything that could be deemed horror. But it's not even there in the movie itself. There are remnants, soldiers and such, weapons. Other than that, though, all there is hunger and survival. So that's horror, then I guess everyday life could be deemed that as well. So there is an extended shot of a tree, and it's an interesting, I suppose, decision to just focus on a tree. Of course, within the context, it uh, it can easily lead the mind to think of other things other than just a tree itself. It's more there as a symbol, pretty much, but it is an actual tree. It's not just a drawing of a tree or anything. It's that, and it's quite barren, though. I think that's important to note. Well, based on what's happened so far, I bet she tries to use a mask to scare him off. That's considering that asking politely didn't result in much. I mean, they had a strange discussion, uh, but yeah, this is not quite you know any kind of horror similar to what I've recently watched, at all. It's not at all similar to recent Japanese horror at all. In fact, I'm not even sure where that began. It doesn't seem to be much of that. Uh, it's its genre isn't quite. I mean, apart from drama, it's mostly a drama, really. So I'm not sure why it's labeled as horror. By the way, the pictures of the animals on their I think they're kimonos. Yeah, it's quite a subtle symbol, isn't it? And so the way they treated the dog, I think, would qualify under the horror label under some most definitions. I, I don't know. I mean, just I mean, for the dog, surely it is right, very much so. And then so it's. I mean, they just mentioned farming a few minutes prior, just a single minute or so. I'm not even sure why they cannot farm. I mean, it seems like they could. Was it drought? They said drought makes little sense when there's water so close by. So there's no excuse, even though that it's wartime. But really, and I mean, that was much more brutal than even the killings at the beginning of humans. Just what's the point? And I see she took the Catholic approach to reproaching. Um, and what do you know? I was wrong then to speculate that she would wear that mask. No, apparently it's the other way around. Hmm. So I thought, I thought this masked figure was the lazy guy. But no, he is very much in his cabin still. So a bit of a funny thing, but when she's running around at night among the reeds, I think they're reeds anyway, I'm not sure. Yeah, that reminds me, the sound that it makes reminds me of the first harvest moon at night. I'm not sure they were trying to simulate something similar, but it's very reminiscent of it. Yeah, I'm also not sure why she looked at a mirror. Not sure if it's supposed to be symbolic or something, kind of like snow. She does. I'm not even sure where the mirror came from. Maybe it was from that soldier. Yeah. But, you know, if the extent of this horror is, some masquerading as a real demon. It's really I don't know how it works. I mean, if someone half an hour ago didn't believe in demons at all, how do you suddenly? I mean, couldn't you just think that it might be a mask? I mean, is it not obvious that it's a mask? And I don't get it. Also, why does she scream even louder on the second time? I mean, sort of like she didn't even expect it considering it happened already. Just don't get it. The screams are so annoying in these sort of movies, and yet, well, when it doesn't even make sense, it makes even less sense. If that makes sense. I do like though how in one short scene they managed to get uh, a close up of what seems like some sort of flower or leaf with some water drops on it, some sort of rain, although it doesn't seem to be raining, but starting to at anyway. So I see that it leaves everything to the end. It's as opposed to a recent Japanese horror which has well this had death throughout as well, but it's not so much a death, is it? I mean, even with recent horror, they have gore everywhere as well. Whereas this, well, I guess it's you could say it's slightly more subtle. I mean, there isn't gore most of the film, despite there being deaths, but they're non-gory deaths, and but then they just leave it until the very end, which I guess is another way to do this. I suppose it's in a way interesting. It was quite horrid though at the end. I mean, it's something. I mean, just I guess a fate worse than death in a way. And obviously the ending is ambiguous. I suppose the director was of the opinion that ambiguous endings are better than the opposite. Um, yeah, I guess it's sort of interesting. I suppose it's quite different. I mean, this if this was the first, supposed to be the first Japanese horror, then yeah, it's quite an evolution. This is quite different from most others, most other recent ones, whether Western or Eastern. it's all quite different. I mean, this is quite different from, I'm assuming, Godzilla as well. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm, I'm assuming it is quite different from it. Um, yeah, I've never seen anything else by Kyoto Shindo before, so I was completely unfamiliar with him, with his films. But I don't know. Suppose I could watch more of his. It's kind of interesting. Um, but it's more a drama than a horror. There's only much, mostly horror at the very end, just a very end. You can't really consider, just wearing of a mask at any other point to be horror. And then the killings are there just like they would be in war in a way, unless one shows the gory details. It's not really horror per se, I suppose. Then again, as I mentioned in the past, I don't think gore so much is horror. So I guess it's more of a on the I guess you could say the psychological horror front. Oh, i.e. before the very ending, it's not quite as horrifying. So I don't know. It's just in a way, it was I always think of sort of the first Jacob's Ladder. That that does build up the psychological sort of horror that then ends. And so in a way, it's similar because it ends in a sort of gory way, but it does build up to it. In a way, it is sort of similar, but the way it builds up is more multidimensional, whereas this is more sociological. So in a way, it's interesting as well, but it's more mundane. Because that's what some Japanese cinemas like. I mean, the other film that I watched from the same country that is the most closer in terms of age would be Tokyo Story, and that's very minimalistic as well. It's not all horror though, but in a way, it's a similar sort of drama. There's no overwhelming jealousy or anything. It's more existential, but it is still minimalistic in a way. This is similar as opposed to series like One Missed Call that I've just watched. That's sort of like the fast food of horror, one could say. I mean, it had a story, but it's not all minimalistic. It's full of fireworks, metaphorically. Whereas this was, I mean, even the music was mostly consisted of drums and beats in general. I mean, yeah, the music isn't too bad, but the story was quite mundane. And obviously, the excuse at the end for why it all happens, it all ends the way it does, isn't quite. I mean, sure, it leaves the audience to speculate as to whether it's truly a curse or not. But that's not horrifying per se anyway. Whether it's the rain that did that or a curse, it's not really doesn't really either way doesn't really contribute really towards any sort of feeling that is inherent of the genre. So I don't know. I've mixed feelings personally about this. It's not most amazing film I watched when it comes to either drama or horror, and in a way it's sort of interesting. I mean, they play tricks on each other constantly, and things like in real life happen randomly as well sometimes. But I don't know. The driving force obviously was lust, I suppose. Just like I suppose that can happen in real life. Obviously, when it comes to curses and such, not so much. But as mentioned earlier, I thought it was quite an abrupt sort of psychological paradigm shift at one point, and that wasn't so believable. But other than that, I suppose the the black and white thing it certainly contributed to it. I mean, if it was sunny when it was sunny, then it would have I don't know maybe taken a bit away from it because it is in a way dark, just like the night was. I mean, the night was more reflective than the day of the film's content. So I suppose it's interesting as the first in the genre. It's something else than I've ever watched in the past.